All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the first time Joe Rogan met Bobby Lee because it almost resulted in them getting attacked by gang members. And someone on Reddit actually recently made a post about this, and it shows Joe talking about it on his podcast with one of his guests, then Bobby talking about it on Bad Friends, and they each have a slightly different perspective on how it all went down, which makes sense because this was like 25 years ago. And these clips were from more recent podcasts. But luckily, the one time that Bobby was on Joe's podcast, they did talk about this story, and this is probably the most accurate version since this was back in like 2011 for episode 76 it was, which is still on Spotify, surprisingly. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, and it's pretty funny because now both Joe and Bobby have the story wrong, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. So let's just jump into the podcast.
So now you grew up in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Now that's where I met Bobby. When I met Bobby was Bobby was a doorman. Were you a doorman?
I was a doorman. It was like 97, 96, maybe 95. Yeah.
Maybe earlier.
Maybe earlier, yeah.
It was, I just moved to LA. I'd only been here for a little while, and I was doing a weekend at the La Jolla Comedy Store, and it was me and Jimmy Schubert and,
I think
and
Diaz
Bobby.
Was, I think Diaz was with us too.
I don't think so. I think Diaz was still in Seattle at the time. And we went to a strip club in San Diego, and there was these Mexican gangbangers that were like the real deal, like tattooed tears in their face, and this one dude he had these crazy murderer eyes, and and Jimmy Schubert was like, I don't know what happened. Jimmy was trying to get a dance from one of their girlfriends or something, or said something to one of their girlfriends, and so the guy got up and he got in Jimmy Schubert's face, and Jimmy Schubert was trying to apologize. Bobby Lee like these guys ain't shit. These guys are pussies, and he was saying it like loud, and the guys were looking at us, and I just got up and I said, I'm leaving right now. Whoever's coming with me is coming with me. I'm leaving right now. Like I knew we were like moments away from someone getting shot.
Really?
I don't have street smarts.
Oh my God! You talk about negative street smarts. These dudes had tattoos on their face. There's certain dudes where you look at them and you go, oh, "These guys are posers." These guys were murderers. Wow. Like, there's no question about it.
Yeah, they would have got a shotgun.
We are 15 minutes away from Tijuana. Okay, and this is, this is the old days when it wasn't even hard to go back and forth. Back in the 90s, bro, you needed a driver's license. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
You didn't have to have a passport to go to Mexico or come back and forth.
Yeah, I don't think you need to explain this to Bobby. He's very familiar with Tijuana. All right, so now let's look at what Joe and Bobby have to say about this more recently on their own podcast. Because Joe says that Bobby was the one that really started it by hitting on the gang member's girlfriend, but Bobby claims that Joe started it because he was staring at the guy, I guess. Either way, though, they both do agree that Bobby was the one that was saying these guys aren't shit and they aren't tough at all and we shouldn't be scared of them. But it seems like both Joe and Bobby forget how it really started, and they forget that Jimmy Schubert is the one that hit on the gang member's girlfriend.
Yeah, Bobby Lee almost got me killed at a strip club in San Diego. First time I met him.
I already believe it. Continue.
We were in our 20s, and I met Bobby Lee down there at the La Jolla Comedy Store, and then we went out after the show. This is probably like late 90s somewhere.
Right.
And we went out afterwards, went out to the strip club, and there was this Mexican gentleman with a tattoo on his face in the 90s, which is rare. And he had long, straight black hair.
Wow.
And he had a look in his eyes like he's killed people.
Yeah.
And I'm good at sniffing out danger. I'm like, that's real danger. And Bobby was hitting on his girl. He was trying to get a lap dance from his girlfriend.
God damn it.
I mean, in Bobby's defense, it's at a strip club, but this girl was apparently his girlfriend at a strip club, and the guy stood up. And he stood up and he said something to Bobby, and Bobby comes over and he's like, fuck that guy. And I looked at the guy, I looked at Bobby, I go, I'm getting out of here right now.
Anyway, I'm at the strip club, and I'm just sitting there. I can't tip, so I'm just sitting there. But I want to act cool because it's Joe Rogan's there, right?
Right.
So these gang members are sitting next to us.
Always.
Right? And they go, what the fuck you looking at to Joe Rogan? Joe's like, nothing, buddy. I'm just watching the show. And Joe goes, and they get in a spat.
Like they're yelling at each other.
You kind of, yeah. We'll be back.
To him?
Yeah, so they all leave to go to their cars.
Shit.
Joe turns to us, and he goes, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And I go, what do you guys, I said.
You said, what do you guys play?
No, pussies.
You said, what are you guys, pussies? To Joey Diaz and Rogan in a strip club.
Yeah.
Because 4 Mexican gang members went to their car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think they were going to get? A blanket?
So this story is pretty surprising because usually Bobby's trying to avoid confrontation, and this is like an actual threat, and now he's acting like a tough guy. I guess he was acting like that though because he wanted to impress Joe, And I think probably the most accurate version of this story is the first time they talked about it on Joe's podcast, because they both seemed to agree on what happened at the club and they weren't questioning each other's memory of it at all. Except for Joey Diaz being there. Bobby really seems to think he was there, but even when Bobby was on Joey's podcast, he brought this up and Joey said he wasn't there. And Bobby's like, "Are you sure? I think you were." But you can tell that Bobby knows he screwed up in this situation, and he says he apologized to Joe multiple times. And it sounds like initially Joe was kind of pissed at Bobby for it, but now it seems like Joe doesn't care as much because it makes a good story and Bobby knows he screwed up here.
Extreme danger, and that's what we were involved in, a pocket of extreme danger. And there's Bobby like, "Fuck these guys ain't shit." He's saying it loud, and I don't know if you were drunk at the time. You might have been drinking.
No, I wasn't.
Were you sober?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 23. Okay. I just left the hometown Poway. Was where I grew up.
Poway?
Yeah, it's called Poway. Yeah,
Where's that? It's outside San Diego?
Yeah, it's like 25 minutes east of like downtown San Diego, right? And I didn't know much, okay? I just started doing stand-up. I wanted to impress you because, you know what I mean, you're a headliner, and I'd never met headliners, you know what I mean? Like, he's a headliner, so I wanted to act tough, you know what I mean? And I came across looking like an asshole.
Well, it's not how you came across. It was the threat that you had put us into. You'd put us in a position
I apologized over the last 15
big deal,
years.
buddy. It's just a funny story, man. I still love you. Just a funny story, but I just remember like this little motherfucker is going to get me killed.
Yeah, and I remember that. I remember it vividly.
Yeah, he was so incredulous. Even now, we were waiting to get in the car. You guys are overreacting. I'm like, get in the
I don't know what was wrong
car.
with it. Yeah.
I'm like, I've seen murderers before. I've met them.
Yeah,
there's a certain tweak in a person's eye when they've already killed somebody.
So that's Joe Rogan and Bobby Lee's infamous strip club story. If you want to hear another good Joe Rogan strip club story, make sure you check out my Joe Rogan and Howard Stern video. That's a good one. But before you do that, in this video, I also want to talk about Bobby Lee and Joe Rogan discussing the Carlos Mencia incident. I'm sure everyone's aware of that. If you're not, basically Joe Rogan just confronted a comedian who was stealing jokes, and it turned into a giant thing because it was true. The guy was stealing jokes, and his career took a huge hit from it. And Bobby was actually good friends with him. He probably still is, because also Carlos helped out Bobby a lot early on, and he brought him on the road to do comedy shows with him. So Bobby probably feels like he owes him something, even though it just sounds like Carlos was kind of a dick to Bobby the whole time. Like, Bobby talked about how Carlos would make him cry, which we'll get into here in a second, and also Carlos was stealing jokes from Bobby. So I don't know why Bobby defends this guy so much. Like, also after Joe confronted Carlos about stealing jokes, Bobby actually made a video defending Carlos, but it was a terrible video, and you could tell Bobby's just under pressure to do it, and he felt like he had to.
And I've never seen him steal a joke. He never stole a joke from me, and I don't know where Joe Rogan gets the information that I called him to tell him that Carlos steals, because I never called Joe.
This is actually the top comment on the video, and I thought this was pretty funny and describes it well. This person said, "This video is cropped. Does anyone have the original widescreen version? The gun Carlos is pointing at Bobby on the far left isn't even visible in this version." So everyone knew Bobby was just full of shit in this video, and he's doing it because he felt like he had to help his friend out or something. Bobby did think that Joe was mad at him, though, for making this video, but I don't think Joe really cared because he probably knew Bobby was full of shit. And Joe even has Bobby on video talking about how Carlos was stealing his jokes.
Yeah, Ned.
Do a couple minutes of his material.
Well, I'll just do some of my material, and then it'll be the same. You know, so I'll just talk about myself.
What has he ever stolen from you?
I used to do this bit about how I was so small that my dad would have to get on my shoulders to get on a ride at Disneyland. Right. Then he did a bit, literally, but I can't do it. But where is this going?
Who cares? What the fuck? It's reality.
Anyway, it's good to see you. Don't be a fucking person.
This is the reason why comedians get away with stealing. Because comedians like you are afraid of confrontation.
It's funny now Joe's roasting him for being afraid of confrontation. Like, too bad he didn't treat Carlos like those gang members at the strip club. Or too bad he's not looking to impress Joe anymore. Alright, so now let's just get back to the podcast where Bobby's talking about how he felt like there was some tension between him and Joe. Also because of this Ari Shaffir incident. But I don't really want to go into that right now. Maybe I'll make a separate video for that. But they're mostly just talking about all the Carlos Mencia drama right here.
That I felt that there was animosity between me and your camp.
What?
Because
you never felt it from me.
Yes, I did.
Really, from me?
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that. Can I be? I
sure.
I love you.
Yeah.
Is that I felt that there was a weirdness because of the whole the video that had come out.
No.
Right? And with Ari, you know what I mean? Me and Ari not getting along.
Like when I called you when there was that video that you made where Mencia made you make, called you about it. I go, and I told you, I go, dude, I'm not mad at you. I don't. It doesn't bother you. Were like,
which was the one biggest mistake I thought, because if you read the feedback. After that, oh my God, I had death threats.
Well, you know, I understood your point of view totally. I knew you from back in the day, and I knew your relationship with him, and I knew that you knew he was sick, and you were trying to help him. I knew the whole crazy. When
it was insane.
About it. But you know what? Also, kind of crazy was, you remember what the environment was like before anybody called him on that, where everybody was on eggshells, and you're constantly terrified of that guy walking in the room.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then he was becoming successful. He's becoming successful, and then just.
Yeah, like I said, you know, I just don't see that part. You know?
Did you see the movie I Am Comic?
How can you say that? How can you say that? Because you did.
Because
he stole shit from you, man. I mean, I know you had issues with him.
Okay, I know. Can I just say this though?
Yes.
All right.
So then Bobby starts saying when he first started, Carlos helped him out by buying him some shitty car, and then he took him on the road to do stand-up, so he helped his career. So I guess Bobby feels like he owes him something, even though I don't know why he defends this guy so hard. He sounds like he wasn't even that good to him. It sounds like he mostly just used him. Like right here, Joe asked Bobby who he likes working with more, Pauly Shore or Carlos Mencia, and then Bobby starts talking about how much he hated working with Carlos and how he used to make him cry.
Who was more fun to hang out with on the road?
Obviously Pauly, because he didn't make me cry. You know what I mean? But
so how did he make you cry?
Well, he would make me go to golf with him.
What?
He plays golf, and I hate golf. And I'd have to get up early and carry, bring the golf bag.
You would have to bring the bags.
I did it once or twice, and I stopped doing it. You know what I mean? And
he
then,
would tell you.
And then
to
one
carry
time,
the bags?
no. One time he let's move over that. And then,
and then made you carry bags.
One time I had to. We played Denver once, and he made me sleep. I didn't give me a hotel room. This is when he wasn't doing as well. He was in the beginning, and I had to sleep in Albert's closet.
Get the fuck out of here.
No.
He took you on the road with him, and you didn't even get a hotel room.
He wasn't selling out at the time. This is literally in 96, 95.
What made you cry?
Just having to get up and there was a time where you had to sell merch and as a young comic, you know what I mean, you don't know what to do. You want to make it. You appreciate the stage time, and it was just.
So he makes you work for him, and on top of just opening up for him.
Yeah, but to be honest, a lot of guys do that shit, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I don't because I have openers now, and I treat them with the
Pauly
utmost.
does. Pauly does.
Yeah, Pauly does all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Didn't Pauly get you to work for free? Didn't Pauly?
I can't. That's another. I cannot.
You can't discuss that.
No, because it's another. That's another.
So it sounds like Carlos would bring Bobby on the road to be his personal caddy, and then to make him sell merch, and then he'd make him sleep in the closet. That sounds terrible. And then even on top of all that, he's stealing his jokes. So I don't know why Bobby would defend this guy. Even if he is helping him out by giving him stage time, it does not sound like it's worth it. It did sound like Carlos was really struggling after all this went down though, so maybe just Bobby felt like he needed to be there for him in a way. At the end of this podcast, Bobby starts talking about how he feels bad for him because he used to be really sober. He'd never touch alcohol, but now I guess he's drinking a lot and smoking weed. And it just sounds like Bobby's trying to say that he's in a dark place now.
Known Carlos, he's never did drugs or drank. That was a big thing. I don't need it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Natural high.
Right.
And now it's he's smoking pot. You know what I mean?
That'll probably help him.
Yeah, I think
maybe.
it would help him.
Maybe.
But he's also drinking.
He's also drinking.
Yeah, he's also drinking.
He's just. I can just tell he's sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's karma, man.
And as a friend,
you can't victimize
people. And as a
people.
friend, you watch it, and it's just.
I always try to play Call of Duty with him on Xbox because I feel bad. I always send him a friend.
You feel bad, so you want to kill him? Yeah. Fuck up.
See, it's not too bad for Carlos. At least he gets to play video games with Brian Redband now. That's pretty cool. All right, so that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like button if you did. Then leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about all this. Then hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.